Slammer. With me, as always, is my co-host, my non-kayfabe brother, Mr. Steve Slammer, and we are now doing this show on 3 o'clock for multiple reasons. Number one is I'm a father, and my child now wants me to lay in bed with her for about 2 hours before she will go to sleep. So that's 2 hours of my day that's gone. So I had the option, which was I could make Steve, who's already starting the show at 10 o'clock his time, I could make him wait an extra 2 hours, start the show at midnight or 11 o'clock, or I could be the nice guy, wrap up my work quickly, and since we only take an hour and a half anyways, we could do the show a little bit earlier throughout the day. So just as he's getting off of work, he can enjoy the rest of his night after the show. I think I'm a great person, Steve.
Yeah, brother, I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. I am committed to the cause. However, getting up and doing this starting at midnight my time, unfortunately, this isn't paying the bills just yet. So I gotta make sure I'm committed to my day persona. Superman's got to be Clark Kent sometimes too.
Yes, Superman does indeed need to be Clark Kent, and oh my God, I have recently just felt like have you just felt like it's been Christmas time for pro wrestling fans? Because God damn it, it's felt like the storylines are hitting a little bit smoother. The show, like it's like they take our complaints and they actually like flip them. Even Reggie is starting to grow on me.
Oh boy!
Now, is it Stockholm syndrome, or has the world of professional wrestling officially grabbed me back 100% as a true full-fledged fan of modern day wrestling?
Stockholm syndrome. Maybe it's the man wandering through the desert handed a bottle of piss syndrome. I don't know, but I think sadly, as I've sat back and thought about it, I think that they may be finding their sweet spot with one Mr. Reggie.
Well, see, here's not to jump straight into it, but I guess we are going to jump straight into it.
Diving right in. That's what we do, man.
I mean, we got an hour and a half. We got to just get right to it. What I think they've done well with one Reggie is, instead of, because I don't think, you and I have said, we don't have an issue with him as the performer. It's just how they have presented the WWE or the 24/7 championship, making it a legitimate title with some of the matches that they were doing, giving him a full entrance into the ring and things of that nature. Last week, they did a funny little vignette, and I made the analogy of, goofy belt in a goofy segment with goofy characters for a short period of time works. Get in, get out. And I think when you just let Reggie be Reggie, hit a couple of backflips, have R-Truth and the other gentleman do some silly stuff with some terrible disguises, and stay true to the 24/7 championship, I'm okay with that. Because I can handle 2 minutes of silliness with the 24/7 title. What I don't want them to do is try to push it on me like it's a real championship when we both know that's just not the case.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that. I think part of my rejection of it at first was the fact that they were starting to have 24/7 championship matches in the ring, and they had never had these things before. And then you got this character that just comes out of nowhere, and now he's doing all this weird, Cirque du Soleil nonsense. And I think that there was a portion of the crowd that was kind of into the flashier stuff. But I found myself, as I was watching this skit on Monday, that he seems like a nice guy. Like he comes across like he's happy to be there. And that kind of attitude can be infectious. But in that environment where, if you're gonna insist on having this comedy title, here's the perfect way to use it. If you want it to be on this Reggie character, here's the perfect way to do it. Because I actually found myself getting a kick out of him doing the backflips out of the way of, Akira Tozawa and the trash can and all that stuff. And then at the end, when he does the flip over the car,
Yeah.
and then he lands and he's just like, well, that's how it's done. I'm gonna go ahead and take off now. Like, I was just like, you know what? If you're gonna insist on showing me these characters and having this type of showcase, this is the perfect way to do it. It was just enough, because and this is not to criticize the guy. He's not at a point in terms of his in-ring ability that I want to see him not just on one show but every show defending the title. It's a title we don't care about. Use it this way. I thought it was really good.
I thought so too. And you know what? I'm going to go as far as saying, maybe because it's generous, maybe because I've just felt very blessed as a professional wrestling fan, Mr. Reggie gets a B here. A solid B. Not a B minus, not a B plus. I'm going to give him a B because it made me laugh, it entertained me, and clearly they're building heat with each other. And this reminds me of the essence of the hardcore title when they instituted the 24/7 clause onto it. It's starting to hit that level of silly to where I'm actually entertained. Not silly to the point where, okay, are you trying to be serious with this belt? That's clearly just a prop. So I have to give it a solid B this segment.
Yeah, I didn't really think of a grade for it because of the nature of the skit. It's one of those it's a sports entertainment skit, right? But like I said, I mean, I know that we've been hard. I know that I've been hard on most of the stuff involving Reggie the last couple of weeks. I was very pleased with what I saw. So if I had to grade it, I would also give it a B.
Awesome. Now, speaking of, I have to mention this because I had not gotten a chance to see what they had done to the Intercontinental Championship. So speaking of belts that have lost their oomph, so to speak, what the hell did they do to that Intercontinental Championship? It looks garbage. Like, it doesn't. I know what they were trying to do. They're trying to make these belts more marketable, designed in such a way that you could sell those at Walmart. If I'm a 6-year-old kid, that seems like the belt that's on clearance for $3 freaking because nobody wanted to freaking buy it. It is garbage. It is gaudy. It's just the worst thing I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the design. I think that, we grew up on the classic, late 80s, early 90s Intercontinental title. And even that, the oval design that they went to during the Attitude Era. And then eventually when they brought, when Cody, now in AEW, but when Cody brought back the classic Intercontinental title, I was pleased because I love that belt. But, the design, it just... Nothing about their titles really stands out. Like, it's like the new UFC belts. Like, it's like a little octagon. It's like, there's nothing flashy in a good way about it. I could use a little gaudy sometimes. Not like the old, spinner WWE title belt. That thing was ridiculous. But, just something that makes it worthwhile of the stature that it should have in relation to the stories that they tell and the show that they're presenting. I never really like it. But yeah, that new Intercontinental title, I could do without it. It's not gonna be appearing in my collection. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, it's not gonna appear in my collection. We have a new Intercontinental Champion. King Nakamura is now the champion. Defeated Apollo Crews in a somewhat entertaining match. I just feel like the story and the heat between those two guys, switching titles prior to SummerSlam means that neither of those guys are probably going to compete at SummerSlam. So it's, because I remember back in the day, you'd have the Intercontinental Championship would happen 1 or 2 matches before the main event. Now it's just treated, it not only does it look like a throwaway championship, it's treated like a throwaway championship. So with that said, the match was pretty good, but I mean, I don't think they're going to retire any of their championships, but does it just not feel like they're trying to just phase out on the Intercontinental Championship?
Well, I think, one of the things that stood out to me here, and it's because of the commentary job. So, we've talked about the fact that the Intercontinental title has fallen in stature. I mean, when we started doing this, you couldn't even recall who the Intercontinental Champion was, and honestly, it took me a minute to even remember it was Apollo Crews. And he hasn't really done much since he won the title. He took it from Big E, then he became Nigerian, then he started, having Dabakato or Commander D's Nuts or whatever his name is, following him around. But during this match, you have the announcers talking about all the Hall of Famers that won the Intercontinental title. They're talking about Shawn Michaels, and they're talking about Razor Ramon. And, I think they're missing the point in that they have this belief that by putting a belt on somebody, it elevates them.
Yeah.
And I think what actually happens, because the storylines and the booking around these belts, and there's so many of them, that it actually ends up dragging the holders down, that end up being, it's almost like a weight around their neck. Like it's, like Apollo Crews wins the title, he doesn't do anything. Now Nakamura, his act is getting a little over, although I'm really tired of his guitarist. I'm sorry. I know the crowds like it, but I just don't get it. But, how about that finish? That finish was about as decisive as it gets. I mean, Apollo Crews got pinned in the middle of the ring, clean, no interference. The crowd's really into the act. Nakamura is kind of reborn. Hopefully this ends up being a plus, but we say that every time there's a new champion crowned, and actually we'll talk about a concern that I have later on when we get the predictions. But overall, I actually kind of enjoyed the match. I actually gave it a B plus.
Yeah, I actually also gave the match a B plus also. It would be one thing if the guitar player was there for triumphant moments. Like, it would be a cool gimmick if it was once in a while. But to your point, it's every single time. The whole King Nakamura gimmick, how he stole the crown. It's kind of cool. I think it's getting over. But, yeah, you are correct there. With the commentary, they are still boosting the value of the title, putting it on Nakamura. Nakamura is a guy who is worthy of that championship. He just competed in Money in the Bank. He's had a couple of co-main events at WrestleMania. Definitely increases the status of the title, at least to where it's at right now, or respects.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was so striking to hear, though. I never really think about it, and then I'm hearing them just go on and on about it, and it kind of took me out of the match for a minute, because I'm just like, yeah, yeah. I mean, the Intercontinental Championship used to be the title. I mean, because Hogan was monopolizing the belt through most of the 80s. I mean, the Intercontinental title was where it was at. And the last decade of Intercontinental Champions has been underwhelming, to say the least. I mean, it's not used in the same way. So, but hey, we'll see what happens. Nakamura's act is getting over, and I'm confused over why they keep, promoting his guitarist. I mean, is the guitarist going to eventually get in the ring? Is the guitarist supposed to be the one getting the heat? Minor issues aside, like I said, if the crowd's eating it up, so be it. The match was decent. New Intercontinental Champion, King Nakamura. And it's just a shame that that title win didn't happen at SummerSlam. I know I wasn't keen on the match happening at SummerSlam, but after I saw the celebration and the pyro and the crowd being really into it, I was like, man, that would have been cool to see at SummerSlam.
That would have definitely been cool. And with the card coming out, I just don't think we're going to see an Intercontinental Championship match at SummerSlam.
Well, don't be so sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up, because right now there's 10 matches on the card. Unless they move one of those matches to the pre-show, which is actually a prediction that I have, there's always an opportunity to have Nakamura do some type of an open challenge for the Intercontinental title on the pre-show, but we'll get there.
We will get there. Okay, so there's something that's been bothering me lately, because I guess we're just going to stick on Smackdown for a second here. So Baron Corbin has a match against Kevin Owens, which, all things considered, I thought it was a good match. I actually thought Kevin Owens did a pretty decent job. He got over. I think he's trying to be a kind of a pseudo babyface just so he can, keep things fresh with the whole Kevin Owens gimmick, the character. So that part, no issues with there. But then after Baron Corbin and Kevin Owens have a match. In that match, there's a stipulation that says if Baron Corbin loses, he can no longer beg for money from the WWE universe. So he has to stop the whole shtick about begging for money and things of that nature, which is fine. Kevin Owens beats him pretty decisively. Baron gets some offense in, so it's not a squash match by any stretch of the imagination. After he loses, Baron buries his head. You think it's all over. You think we're finally done with this freaking shtick with the mustard on the freaking shirt and whatnot. Only for him to grab Big E's Money in the Bank contract, the briefcase that contains the contract. Personally, with how they've been using Big E and not really pumping him up, not really using him as basically a glorified extra these past 2 weeks. This is kind of a shit thing to do to him, and I certainly hope that with what happened with the contract signing, if that just doesn't become the norm, where it's like, well, yeah, you won it, but he's got the briefcase, so it's his now. Sorry.
Well, you got me a little confused there because you said Big Easy, and I automatically assumed you were talking about an ex-girlfriend of mine. But anyway, actually, I'm going to reserve judgment on this. Big E, since he won the Money in the Bank, aside from that grinning like an idiot thing he did with Paul Heyman a week ago, he hasn't done anything. And he needs something to do. I know I complain about holding patterns, but considering what's going on around the Universal and World titles right now, Big E needs to be in a holding pattern. So Baron Corbin, say what you want about him, and I could love to see this version of Baron Corbin doing promos. I just hate seeing him in a ring. I don't really like his ring work. However, with that said, Corbin can't beg for money anymore. He can hold the contract hostage. I really hope they're not going to insult our intelligence the way that they did with the Universal contract signing and say that Corbin can cash in the Money in the Bank contract. I hate when they do that.
Yeah.
However, I could see a logical situation forming where they say, well, E can't cash it in unless he has it in his possession, because that's why they always do the thing where they hand in the briefcase to the referee, right? So Corbin holds it hostage. Maybe Corbin is ransoming it to Big E for money, and they could drag that out a couple of weeks. But I have a feeling, I have this awful feeling that they're gonna imply that Corbin can now cash it in. I mean, they said that.
They did.
They asked the question. I think it was Corey Graves asked the question as they were going off the air, and I was just like, oh God, no, don't do that. But it could be interesting to give. I mean, look. Corbin's not going to be cashing in Money in the Bank. Let's just get past that. However, just don't make it too convoluted. It would fit in with Corbin's story if they did it that way. It gives E something to do, gets us through SummerSlam and into Survivor Series season. But it was what it was. I didn't necessarily hate it, but I'm taking a wait and see approach with what I saw.
Yeah, I just hope for Big E's sake that they actually find something meaningful for him to do, because it's like, hey, you just had the biggest moment of your career. Now, is he in a holding pattern until the end of, because the logical move is post Lashley Goldberg. If he wants to get revenge for Kofi, he can get it that night, and so that he doesn't look like a total heel. Maybe he has to have a back and forth with Corbin first to get it back, maybe in the pre-show, just so it's like, hey, we see. That's something I could see in the pre-show for SummerSlam, like the resolution for Money in the Bank, because what they've actually done a pretty good job about, we have not talked about what Lashley did to Kofi in a very long time, at least from a viewer perspective. It's almost like that match didn't even happen whatsoever. And then when you see Kofi and Xavier Woods on Raw, they haven't addressed it either. Like this past week, you only saw them one time, and that was yesterday when the match was happening, or basically the post drip drip Miz back and forth backstage. I believe Xavier Woods is holding up a whiteboard that says "Buy our shirt," and then Kofi's holding it. They're all nothing but smiles and laughs. That was actually my favorite part of that freaking promo, by the way. And then
you getting ideas for your side hustle here?
For my side hustle, well, my idea for the side.
Well, hang on. For those that are going to be listening to this and not watching the stream here, there is a big whiteboard behind you. So I have this feeling like in the future we're going to be seeing subliminal, not so subtle subliminal messages written on this board.
You know what? The thing about the whiteboard behind me is clients see that all day, employers see that all day, and I already see them because normally what I do with my own personal life is I make a check. I don't need like faux motivation tactics to get me to do what I'm supposed to do. I just need a list of things. And what I do every day is I make a list and I say, hey, until I do everything on this list, I do not get to sleep. And I love my sleep. So that's kind of what the whiteboard is. So I already see them deciphering like what's behind me, like, oh, what's that? What's that mean? What's this mean? And it turns into like a 15 minutes of Slack messages afterwards. So as much as I would love to draw, say, a penis on the whiteboard behind me or something really or something suspect that could be a penis behind me on that whiteboard, I can't quite do it because knowing my ass, I will forget to turn it off. So
there is nothing subliminal or subtle about drawing a big penis on a whiteboard behind you on a live stream. I'm just going to point that out.
Well, what if it's a penis holding an umbrella that's, being showered with acid rain? I mean, that could be a thing, right?
Well, I would hope if there were acid rain endangering my penis that I would have an umbrella handy.
Well, yeah, of course. You always got to be prepared, man. Like, you got to, hindsight is 57. Anyways,
life is all about risk assessment, so now that's going to have to be something that I add into my risk assessment.
Risk assessment. That's the next app we're going to build. It's just a risk assessment app, and then based on your level of paranoia, that becomes that becomes like what it is. So it's like rational fears, like, hey, there's rain outside. Did you wear your umbrella? Or it's like, hey, there's been 3 car accidents near you lately. Are you sure you're wearing your plastic bubble today?
What about an umbrella hat? Like one of those hats that has like an umbrella that comes out the top.
You know what, dude? I have a feeling those would be amazing in, say, like Seattle, Washington, if you could make them stylish. Like if you could get Gucci behind it, like you gotta. It has to look like something you would want to wear normally, right? Like I'm not gonna drive a Prius, right? But I will drive the fuck out of a Tesla because it's sexy, sleek, and all that. Yeah. So that's the thing.
Chicks dig the Tesla, man. I'm telling you.
It's eco-friendly and sexy, whereas Prius just means, hey, I'm a douche and I probably eat vegan. That's what the Prius says.
Saying you're a douche and eating vegan, that's kind of redundant, though, isn't it?
That kind of is redundant.
Apologies to anyone watching or listening that may be vegan. I respect my vegan friends.
We do. And I actually went raw vegan for 6 months, and then I realized how much I hated myself. And then, actually, what really happened was this. I was raw vegan, and I was one of those people who's like, oh my God, I feel so good. I feel great. I've got all this energy. It's so amazing, blah, blah, blah. Then I ate a cheeseburger, and then another cheeseburger, and then another cheeseburger, and I never went back.
I think veganism is like it's like CrossFit. It's like a cult, right? Like the moment the moment you run into somebody who's into CrossFit, like they're just like, hey, do you have a minute for me to tell you about the Church of CrossFit? And it's just like, no, I don't want to hear about your fucking CrossFit, right? Like I get it. I appreciate the fact that you're working out and you're happy and you found something that works for you, but I don't want to hear about the Church of CrossFit. It's the same thing with most of my vegan friends. Although I will say that they don't necessarily go out of their way to push it, but it seems like they always go out of their way to mention the fact that, oh yeah, no, I'm vegan.
It's kind of a new religion now that we're kind of in a, like, I would call it like a post religious part of American culture. Now it's more like instead of the Mormon guys with the black tie, white button-down t-shirts coming to your house, what you're gonna get is you're gonna get like CrossFitters riding little bikes, and then what they'll do is they'll actually flip tires up to your front door, knock, and just be like, "Hey, bro, let me tell you about this WOD. Do you know about the WOD, bro? Let me tell you about WOD, bro." Like,
oh God, that risk assessment app idea that you just talked about, Big E could have used that, because you don't leave your money in the bank contract just sitting around. But somebody else that could have used that risk assessment app is Seth Rollins, because what the fuck is Seth Rollins wearing on national TV?
Okay, here's what I think happened, and much like one Vince Russo was accused back in the day of copying ECW, does Seth Rollins not at least have a feel of one Maxwell James Friedman? It just feels like Seth Rollins has basically devolved into Maxwell James Friedman, Jacob Friedman, with worse dialogue, slightly crazier, and with a significantly worse wardrobe. And here's where I feel sorry for him. It looks like he paid a tailor to take a bath curtain and freaking sew it together like a suit for him. And that's not something that costs like $100. He probably had to pay probably $2 or $3 grand a suit for that thing. You know a lot about suits, not me, but
Dude, I'm telling you right now, like, God knows I'm one dapper son of a bitch, okay? And my suit game is strong, but goddamn, I mean, that suit is so ugly that if you tried to sell it to a blind man, his seeing eye dog would probably bite you. I mean, Jesus Christ. Did he even look in the mirror before he? Like, I know he's trying to get heat with what he's wearing, but Jesus, I mean, that suit is so ugly that if he checked himself out in the mirror before heading out to the ring for that promo, his reflection would have tried to run away from it.
Well,
he's dressing like a '60s Batman villain, for Christ's sake. I mean,
yeah.
What is he doing?
Well, I think that's the feel he's going for. Like, his character, his mannerisms, it kind of feels like he was watching The Dark Knight. It kind of feels like he's trying to be like a little bit of a Heath Ledger Joker thrown in there, mixed with the Seth Rollins character, mixed with the guy who kept getting like overstepped by Edge. Then
well, hey, dude, hell of a gimmick video though, right?
Oh, that gimmick video was solid.
I love that thing.
Well, basically, he had like a production quality video that essentially was like, "I'm not trying to beat Edge. I'm better than Edge. Here's why." And the whole time you're watching the video, part of me's like, he's not wrong here. Because he brings up very valid, very true points, and it's my favorite narrator, the guy who does all the WWE documentaries. That voice just sounds like freaking warm butter.
In a world where... No, I'm just kidding.
Seth Rollins, and I can't even do it. Like, I can do a good impersonation. I can't impersonate that man. He's just that good. But yeah, the Heat video was amazing. And to Seth Rollins' credit, he is really selling the fact that he's crazy. I just wish that the writers feeding him lines would stop stealing from AEW, even if it is subtle. Like, because I'm not saying that Rollins is stealing from them. I think that one of the 10 writers who's writing lines for him that didn't bother to actually think creatively for themselves. Maybe they were smoking weed. Maybe they were doing something else. I don't know. But day before, it's about an hour, they have a pitch meeting for Seth, and they're just like, oh, fuck, what am I going to do? Okay, he's a crazy character. Then all of a sudden, boom, YouTube video of MJF pops up. He's like, just starts copying his lines. And this is similar to what some of the Seinfeld writers did to Kevin James. This is how Hollywood does it. You hire Hollywood writers. They're going to freaking do Hollywood-style plagiarism. And that's what I think just happened with Seth Rollins. It's not overt, but you can definitely tell that they've been watching some AEW.
I mean, you could tell that from the opening promo. I mean, the John Cena Roman Reigns confrontation, right, where they went out of their way to talk about, to reference Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley, right, and then the I'm gonna blow a kiss, the reference to the infamous CM Punk at Money in the Bank back in 2013, so they know what's going on, and it was a cutesy little way of kind of, of bringing it up. I mean, the fans reacted to it, and that's what you're looking for. And that opening segment between Roman Reigns and John Cena was solid.
Oh, dude, I loved every minute of it. I loved every freaking second of it. And what I think, because the word on the street is that Reigns has been ad-libbing for the past year. So he's been giving himself lines. So what I think happens is the writers say, hey, here's some suggestions, and then they take that and make it their own. But, god damn, dude, that promo work from John Cena was probably some of his best stuff. It was very real. It was very gritty. Yeah. Like, how good was, look, man, I don't have to prove anything to you. I just have to pin you. 1, 2, 3, and I was like, goosebumps, bro. I go ahead.
Yeah, because I think that it's a common theme with this match and with the match coming up at All Out, right? So it's a foregone conclusion who's winning. I mean, we know Roman Reigns is winning. We know that Kenny Omega is winning. Mm-hmm. So, but you're trying to sell a big-time pay-per-view with what should be a good match. I mean, Omega and Christian on Rampage was pretty good, and I think that there's every reason to expect that Reigns and John Cena are going to have a good match. But if you're trying to make me believe, you're trying to sell me on the possibility, which I did not think was possible. The all I have to do is pin you, my 17th championship. It at least got me kind of like, okay, it got me a little interested. Just like with Rampage, having Christian beat Omega for the TNA and Impact titles, you're trying to send a message that, Cage could beat him for the AEW title at All Out. He's not, spoiler alert. But, that's about the best thing you could do. And it at least made me pause for a second and say, maybe Cena could win at SummerSlam. I don't know,
So, here's the thing. I think if Cena beats Reigns doesn't get knocked down a peg or two. I think he's just as big of a star. He could handle the loss, right? Cena is now the 17-time world championship, and if you do it correctly, now you free up space for Reigns and Rock to start doing their thing, because you already got, and this is probably the genius mind of Paul Heyman at work here, we didn't hear from Finn Balor last week on SmackDown. At least maybe I missed whatever segment he was on. We haven't heard from Finn Balor. So, Cena beats Reigns. Out who's ready is Finn Balor, who already mentioned that he wants to challenge for it. So Finn would get his title shot against Cena. Reigns would be free to start working Rock for WrestleMania, however they want to start setting up that story. Because eventually they are going to need to get the belt off of Reigns. So do you do it now or do you do it closer to WrestleMania? That's going to be the main question.
Well, I mean, we can talk more about that when we get to the SummerSlam prediction segment. But I will tell you that what they do with Reigns and how they take the title from him matters significantly at this point.
Yeah.
He returned a year ago at last SummerSlam, and that's all I'll say for right now. I'll wait until we get to the predictions.
Okay. Well, you just brought up Kenny Omega versus Christian. I thought that was a sensational match, but as I'm thinking, like, maybe I was a prisoner of the moment, and here's why I was saying that. First off, what does Christian gain from beating Kenny Omega? Like, what does he really gain from the Impact Championship other than saying that he's won a world championship?
Well, I mean, at this point, what I think is Christian is still technically undefeated in AEW. He's going to lose to Omega at All Out. There's no match with any of the incoming talent that's going to mean as much as heel Omega defending the title against these guys. what you were trying to do here is just like I said, you were trying to sell the possibility. And I think also what you could do from here at All Out is you can make the match winner take all.
Yeah.
Right? So, and then you get the belts back onto Omega. Now, do I think that they could do that? Absolutely, because I think that the moment that they moved away from Adam Page into this holding pattern and then they moved Christian up, if it was Adam Page as previously booked against Omega, I would think that Page is winning the title. The moment they said Christian, I said not a chance in hell. This is clearly just holding. So now you need to keep Christian strong. He's going to take his first loss. Okay, well, you had him pin Omega, so he'll have that on his resume. He's going to have the titles added to his resume. Whether or not he defends them in a winner-take-all, we'll see. The reason I think it might be winner-take-all is because it raises the stakes of the all-out event, and also they had apparently AEW intervene because Omega defended the AAA Mega Championship at I'm drawing a blank on the Triple Mania.
Yeah, Triple Mania
over the past weekend.
Yeah,
and he was supposed to drop the title to Andrade El Idolio, but apparently AEW asked him not to just yet. So they're keeping the belts on the quote-unquote belt collector. I can see them making it a winner-take-all just because you're trying to raise interest in the match. But at the end of the day, we know who's winning.
We do. And then also, I was like, so Kenny Omega won't lose to people like Jungle Boy or somebody he could elevate, and he'll lose to Christian, who's a guy who is a legend in his own respect, who's still technically undefeated, and he didn't lose clean, if you notice in the match. There was somewhat of a schmoz. There was use of a chair.
That was a hell of a bump he took on. Did you see the way his neck bent when his head hit that chair when Christian did the kill switch on the chair?
Yeah.
I mean, I know he was okay, but they replayed it, and I was just like, I don't know. It looked rougher than I think it should have.
It definitely looked rougher. It definitely looked rougher than what it should have been. You're 100% correct there. I think, but then yet, Christian's been doing it for so long. Kenny's been doing it for so long. I'm hoping that it was just a way that they did it, which was, to kind of add effect to it. But in the words of Mick Foley, if it looked like it hurt, it probably did.
Well, and the reality is here, I mean, I talked about the fact that they're trying to raise the stakes and raise interest in the all-out main event. The reality is they just gave away the all-out event on free TV, right?
Yeah.
Well, cable TV, right? So at this point, All Out is being sold on the promise of who's going to be showing up. And whether or not they show up this Friday, I don't think that they're gonna.
Yeah.
But, I think they're going to save it for all. They may announce it since it's in Chicago, but we'll see. But overall, but the match itself was really good. I actually liked the Christian Kenny Omega match. If I had to grade it, I gave it an A+.
Yeah.
And the reason I gave it the A+ was because, again, this is the only thing that they could have done to raise interest in a match that really should have no interest, other than the fact that it's going to be a good match. We know that the title's not changing hands. They executed it really well. They protected Omega a little bit. They gave Christian his moment. Minor criticism. I know it's an AEW show, but the fans chanting AEW in a match for the TNA title was kind of funny to me.
Yeah.
But, whatever.
Well, you know what? I agree with you there, and I'm gonna give it. I actually gave it an A-, but
and that's fine
for similar reasons, because I feel like now you're gonna have two guys coming in. Now you do right by Christian, who is probably told, "Hey man, you come here, you're gonna be a mega star." They put a belt on him. I think you make him lose for the AEW belt. You let him keep the Impact title. And then you have a different path for like a different tier of talent that he could work with. So maybe guys who are above the TNT championship, but not quite in the heavyweight picture. And now you have kind of a tier bracket there for those guys. While, your two major stars are going to come in. So yeah, I did enjoy that moment. It's very clear that, Omega is not going to lose. I think if Omega is to actually drop the AEW championship, it's going to be to one of the two big stars who's coming in that night.
Or to, maybe a year from now to like a Jungle Boy or somebody that you want to make. But
at this point they've run through Jungle Boy. They're about to run through Christian Cage. They ran Adam Page out of the picture. So it's clear to me, at least, that this is what they're setting up.
Dude, Adam Page probably. I know that you think it's just a creative blunder. What I think happened was he got caught banging somebody's wife. He ate the last grape Pop-Tart on the way out of the house, and
he ran into Big Easy. That's what happened. That's what happens when you run into Big Easy. Bad things happen.
Bad things happen when you run into Big Easy. That is correct. But yeah, they did. I thought the whole Rampage show, they did a sensational job on it. I felt like it was just the right amount of wrestling, and dare I say it brought up some nostalgia for me back when Raw, the early Raws, were literally an hour, 45 minutes of action front to back, just the right amount of wrestling. And I even liked what they did with Fuego del Sol. So if you're watching the match, it's like Miro, he has no chance of beating Miro whatsoever. But what I do like what the announcers did, which actually added to the match, was they said Miro has a problem with the DDT. What was the only move Fuego del Sol hit in that match?
I know. I'll let you finish. I completely disagree with that.
Well, he hits the DDT on that match, and then what I did like about that is I hate it when baby faces act freaking stupid. Like they go outside the ring when they can just win the match. They let them get counted out. I love how Fuego actually was like, no, I'll take a count-out win. I'll take the count-out win. I just want the contract, right?
Except you're not winning the title that way.
Exactly. But I don't think he was going for the title. He just wanted to fight for his job that way. But anyways, match happens. Miro finally gets a hold of him. Does exactly what we know Miro is going to do to him. Match itself, wasn't the greatest thing I ever saw. But I did think it was kind of cool that, a fan favorite, somebody who's kind of similar to what the Brooklyn Brawler was. It's a job guy that got over with the crowd, had a little name to him. And then the crowd went wild as Sammy, his best friend, gave him a contract. I like stuff like that. I understand it's not for everybody. But, you know me, I'm a sucker. When the crowd gives it a pop and they like it and the people who paid money to go into the building to watch your product are enjoying themselves, I'll take it. But I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, if this were real, I might be able to deal with it. The problem is that the story, it's a story, right?
Yeah.
They're setting it up. He's got to beat Miro and take the TNT title, or apparently he could have won by count out and not won the title, in order to get his contract. So not only does he loses in 2 minutes. He gets his ass kicked. And then they come out and they give him the contract anyway. So is being all elite now like a participation trophy? Is that what we're doing here? Well, you tried. Well, you really tried, young man. So you know what? We're going to give you a contract anyway. You could have scripted it any other way. I'm not trying to say he had to beat Miro. You could have had him beat Miro by count out. You could have had Miro, trip and slip on a banana peel or something. I don't know. Or at the very least, if you're going to have him lose and then to justify them giving him the contract anyway, have him go 10 minutes with Miro. Have him give Miro a quick scare. I'm not saying put the title on Del Sol because that wouldn't be a good idea, but he got steamrolled by Miro.
He did. So in your opinion, if they would have said, hey, he kept... my opinion is, you could have given him the Rocky Balboa treatment where he kept getting his ass kicked but kept coming back, kept kicking out, kept putting his foot on the rope, and then you're like, God damn it. Like, give him a moment. So what you're saying is give him a moment that says, hey, you earned that contract, you held in there, you were just outclassed in the match.
They did give him the Rocky Balboa treatment. They gave him Rocky Balboa versus Clubber Lang 1. That's what they gave him.
But they should have given him at least... the first 6 rounds of Apollo Creed.
They could have given him Rocky Apollo 1.
Rocky Apollo 1 would have been better. But then, it's...
not to that extreme, but,
All right.
At least then he tried. He took the champion to the limit, and you know what?
even though the stipulation is that you gotta beat him, we really liked what we saw. How do you justify that you like what you saw? I mean, he got his ass beat.
Yeah, he did. He got a little bit of early offense with the DDTs.
He landed a couple DDTs on Miro.
Yeah, I mean,
it was 2 minutes. It was 2 minutes.
It was 2 minutes. You know what? Here's the thing. He's a fan favorite. It's the world we live in. I know part of it's more like, because you and I, we're both against freaking participation trophies as a principle. But for me, I like that the crowd was enjoying themselves, having a great time, enjoying the flow of things. And speaking of which, have you seen a certain tweet on Twitter that was sent out by AEW?
Which one would we be talking about?
So, as you know, and I think this is your favorite of all the labors of Jericho, because who's to count? I think you love. We both professed our love on this program for all of them. I'm being sarcastic there. Basically, they're like, hey, listen, we want to respect MJF. But say if the crowd, the people showing up, were to memorize the lyrics and sing those songs. So what I think they're hoping for is that, and it wouldn't surprise me if they gave everybody like freaking Sunday church style the lyrics to Judas to have people just sing Jericho out. I think it's going to be off tune and horrible, but if they somehow pull it off, maybe it'll add some degree of entertainment to that match. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. Speaking of AEW silliness, I figured I'd bring that to your attention.
Well, God knows that after, seeing Jericho, cut up with a pizza slicer and, having light tubes exploded on him and having to have a 25-year-old rematch with Juventud Guerrera and getting steamrolled by Wardlow, I'm ready to see the culmination, the pinnacle, no pun intended, if you will, of this feud, where Chris Jericho has to face MJF in the most obscene, ridiculous, grueling no, it's not steel cage. No, it's not Texas Death Match. Hell in a Cell. No, it's not Hell in a Cell.
What about Last Man Standing?
Not Last Man. No, it's not that either. Oh, he can't use his theme music.
Oh, and he can't hit the Judas elbow.
Fucking bullshit is this? If you like this stuff, I'm sorry. What is that? I mean,
you know what this is?
This is it. This is what we've been waiting for?
No, this is they got themselves in trouble because of the goddamn pizza cutter. So now they had to come up with some other stuff to not piss anybody off.
But there's certain wrestling tropes that work. Just say, you know what, Chris? Steel cage match. Okay, great. It's still kind of blah to me, but it's better than you can't have your theme music and you can't throw your shitty elbow.
Yes, the back spinning elbow of doom.
Don't take away the Code Breaker. He only won a world title with that. Don't take away the Lion Tamer. He only won a world title with that. Don't take away the Walls of Jericho. He only became the first undisputed champion for that. Take away the frickin' Judas elbow and the Judas music. Okay, great. MJF, you're a fucking genius.
Yeah, this whole thing...
He's so dastardly.
They were just running out of order the entire freaking time. And then also, speaking of the match with Wardlow, what's crazy it's like...
Well, hang on. Him and Seth Rollins can become Batman villains at this point. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Oh my god. Yeah, that was... where was I going to go from here? Jesus
I'm sorry.
Christ.
You were talking about Wardlow. I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, well, first off, it was like, I think they were really going to plan some stuff that was going to really, like, try to get us, because I'm sure they after the pizza cutter, they were probably like, oh yeah, we're going to come up with, like, barbed wire next week, and then all of a sudden, they probably got, like, a bunch of messages like, no, you're not. This is denied. This is denied. We just lost Domino's. No. And I think they just made a judgment call right off the bat.
MJF literally threw him off of the top of the cell from Blood and Guts, the War Games match.
Yeah.
He literally threw him off the top into a crash pad, but he still threw him off the top of the cage, right?
Yeah.
He's done worse things to Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
And now he's gotten Chris to agree to this labor situation and matches where where MJF is going to be this evil heel genius, and he's going to come up with all these nefarious ways to fuck Chris Jericho over. And at the end, at the pinnacle, again, no pun intended, although at this point it probably is intended, at the end, they get to the apex of this, and they say, okay, popcorn fart.
Dude, it's more like it was all illogical. And I've said this multiple times on the show. I'm like, okay, you're going to finish this off. If they just said, hey, look, if they would have came out and said, hey, look, we screwed the pooch on this. This was stupid. Sorry. Our bad. We could have lived with that. But somehow Adam Page can't get a mano-a-mano match with freaking Kenny Omega. But this gets to slide. What I felt about this segment. It hit for me. For those of you who did not see Raw, it begins with a good promo between Matt Riddle and between Riddle and Randy Orton. AJ Styles and Omos comes out to interrupt. AJ Styles and Riddle has an impromptu match to where Randy Orton leaves Riddle out there by himself, knowing that Omos is ringside. All that crazy stuff happens. At the end of the night, Randy Orton faces Omos, and they've done a sensational job of making Omos like a freaking badass throughout this whole thing. His moveset is perfect. How he carries himself is perfect. They're starting to, peel back the orange a little bit and expose more of his character instead of just being a big guy. It's very subtle, but it's there. Riddle saves Randy Orton. And then Randy cuts the promo that actually Steve predicted. So you said, I thought that Orton would end up saving Riddle. You said that it made more sense for Riddle to have to save Orton again to earn his respect. So RK Bro comes back. They give each other a hug. The fucking house, you can hear on TV, the audio guys had to adjust that. It sounded like the fucking house was going to come down when Orton, not Riddle, said RK Bro is back. Then Riddle proceeds to say, well, I guess, you know what that means? That means at SummerSlam, we get to fight AJ Styles and Omos. Crowd goes wild again. That match is not going to sell SummerSlam, but it's going to be a really cool feature to add on top of it. I thought great promo. Really, you kind of saw Randy sort of do this thing where he's conflicted from his standpoint because he's like, look, I work alone. I'm a career asshole. This is kind of what I do. So yeah, I thought that whole freaking segment, all of it worked for me. My only criticism, they should have done it sooner and they should have built it for another week.
And I'm back.
You're back.
Yeah, I think my only other criticism is I like Matt Riddle. NXT version of Matt Riddle. Him acting like a Make-A-Wish kid with Randy Orton just doesn't. I don't like it. But minor criticism aside, for whatever reason, this whole thing works, and it works for me too. Like the crowd was really into it. It's kind of shades of the Team Hell No pairing with Kane and Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Especially the hugging part, and the crowds are eating it up. And I think part of the reason why the crowds are eating it up is because Orton has been so bland and so boring for so long that he's getting an opportunity to do something a little bit different. My understanding from what I've read is that the powers that be were not really big on this idea when Riddle came up with it, and the only person that was really wanting to do it was Randy Orton.
Yeah.
So hey, I'm interested to see what happens, but I thought it was a good bookend to the show, and that's all I got to say really. It could have used another week to breathe, but we'll see what happens.
It gave Omos and AJ Styles some new dance partners. It reconnected a tag team that the crowd loved. I'm gonna go B+ with it. Only because they should have done it sooner. They should have let it breathe. And the fact that Orton is behind it, you could tell. And I think he's actually enjoying himself, because you can't play the same character for freaking 21 years and not get bored. Because what I said is, for me, Orton's not one of the best heels to ever exist, but he is one of the most reliable heels. Because he gets over as a complete dick, because he looks like the guy who banged your girlfriend and ate your last bowl of cereal on your way out of the fucking house, right? So that's kind of how he's always gotten by as a heel. Now, the whole Riddle thing makes him likable. And, you know, I do agree they should dial back the whole Make-A-Wish kid thing. But I will say that him introducing some abandonment issues has given Riddle's character a little more substance outside of, hey, I probably got high and ate a bowl of fucking cornflakes before I came to fucking work today, right?
Well, the Make-A-Wish little brother version of the Riddle character makes me long for, you know, Scooter douchebag stoner Riddle character. I mean, just his reaction at the beginning. But it works for whatever reason. It works. The crowds love it. I'm digging it. I don't get it, but whatever.
Dude, it's just the right amount of cringe. For every great character, you need a little bit of cringe. And that's his cringe, right? So, and the more cringe-worthy he is, the more Randy Orton gets over as a babyface. So we can allow that to go down.
Fair enough.
All right. So we covered the Orton and Reigns promo. I have to give some props again this week to to Bobby Lashley and Goldberg MVP. Like, at the very least, at least creative is on lockdown with the two main championships, which is, I think, is all you can really ask for, because they're going to command the most TV time. I thought the promo was amazing. The spear, I feel like he should have went back a little bit more to have a little more velocity on it, because it felt more like a double leg takedown than a Goldberg quality spear. Properly adding his sons to the mix was cool. Goldberg, as you and I have both said, he was never the best on the mic. There was a reason why WWE protected him from the mic for so long, because his mic skills were not that great. But Lashley cuts a promo like an MMA fighter would. It really adds a sense of believability to the story that makes me think, okay, these two giants are going to try to fucking kill each other for this belt. We're going to mention this before we go into our SummerSlam predictions, and I'm sorry if we missed some things today, folks. It's just we're covering 6 hours of wrestling in an hour and a half. So what did you think of Bobby Lashley Goldberg?
I thought it was exactly what I expected. Not to get into predictions, but, the Goldberg's not winning, and the fact that he was standing tall at the end of this just reinforced that for me. So this was his moment. It was his moment with his kid. His son's involvement it's confusing me, but I'm beginning to think it's just a red herring. Like, I thought that he was going to somehow be involved in the finish. Like, they use his son to distract Goldberg in some way, but that wouldn't be a good idea. I think Goldberg needs to lose. He needs to lose decisively to continue the build of Bobby Lashley. And I think this might just be Goldberg wanting to get his son involved, get his son some TV time. But it did what it was supposed to do. It was fine.
Yeah, 100%. And, I think what it was Goldberg's 53. He's retired. He's a Hall of Famer. He really doesn't need to wrestle anymore. I think they brought the son in to give him a reason to. They fucking Rocky Balboa this story, whereas Rocky in the Rocky Balboa movie, this was when he came back to fight Antonio Tarver at 60 years old. He, had his wife and he had everything going on, and he just wanted to, let out the beast one more time before he called it. That kind of had a lighter feel to it for Goldberg. Part of me feels that this will be the last time we see him wrestle. There's not going to be a rematch. There's not going to be a rubber match. I doubt that Goldberg at 53 is going to want to get on the road and live that life again. So I do think, before we get into predictions, to prelude what I'm going to say, I do feel it will be decisive. I don't see Goldberg getting too much offense, and I could even see a no-sell in there for the spear.
Well, I think if Goldberg is going to unleash the beast, I hope it's not missionary style, because Roman Reigns is not like that.
He is not like that at all.
He is not a fan of the missionary.
All right.
But, yeah, we'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. You know what? I'll give that segment B, because I liked what was said. Move the pace along. And, I think for us, C is like when it does what it needs to do. B is we like what they did there. For me, it was like the standard was set with Reigns and Cena this week in the heavyweight picture. So
yeah.
I can't, if you compare the two, SmackDown was still a very clearly superior product in terms of the heavyweight promo. But I'm looking forward to both matches. Like, I think both matches are going to be freaking amazing. So I'm going to look up the SummerSlam card real quick.
We have 10 matches.
Yeah, we got 10 matches and about 40 minutes to cover all of them. I
think some of these are pretty straightforward.
Oh, some of them are. Some of them deserve more time than others. Okay, this one, and I only have 8 matches on this article, so I think this covers everything. And
there are officially 10 per the WWE's website.
Ooh, okay. Let me look up WWE real quick. And why don't you tell the people at home what those 10 matches are going to be?
All right, so it's SummerSlam live in Las Vegas this coming Saturday for the Universal Championship. We have Roman Reigns defending against John Cena. For the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, Bobby Lashley defending against Goldberg. We have a triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship with Nikki Cross defending against Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. The SmackDown Women's Championship on the line, Bianca Belair defending against Sasha Banks. We have the Usos defending the SmackDown Tag Team Championship against the Mysterios. Edge versus Seth Rollins. The United States Championship on the line, Sheamus defending against Damian Priest. Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal in an epic match that everyone wants to see. The Raw Tag Team Championship, as we talked about, AJ Styles and Omos defending against RK Bro. And the last match that was added, Alexa Bliss taking on Eva Marie in a match I want to see even less. Those are the 10 matches scheduled for SummerSlam. And I wish I could have had that old-style Mean Gene delivery with the SummerSlam music playing in the background and some promo, but maybe one day.
Dude, Mean Gene was the best of all time. He was the best on-site interviewer of all time. Anybody else could fight me on that to the death. Seeing how he especially in the 80s with those Macho Man promos and the Hogan promos, and how he was able to get the most out of those guys while playing it completely straight. He was the best there was ever. So I gotta give props to Mr. Mean Gene Okerlund there. Okay, so let's just get the 2 shitty matches out of the way right now. Alexa Bliss versus Eva Marie. Who takes it?
Yeah, who cares? You know what? I will go with Alexa Bliss. And there's no rhyme or reason behind it. It's just the only prediction that I have with this is that I hope it airs on the pre-show.
Okay, so for me, I'm going to take the opposite approach. I think Eva Marie, there's going to be a dewdrop. There's going to be some shit to happen with the fucking doll. They're going to steal the doll somehow, try to make it somehow like the Undertaker's urn or some shit. You're going Alexa Bliss. I'll go Eva Marie to keep it interesting, because who the fuck cares?
Would you like to have a friendly wager? I mean, we are going to be together in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Would you like to have a friendly wager on the outcome of who gets more predictions right for SummerSlam?
Okay.
I'm going to ask this question live on the air, and then we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. So the wager is Loser, we are going to do a live stream, and we'll see if we can do it at a bar. The loser pays for the drinks that night. Loser pays the drinks.
Oh, all the drinks all night?
All the drinks for one bar for the after show, because you're a bougie bitch. You got expensive taste, bro.
Well, I'm a pretty person who likes pretty things. I mean,
you are a pretty person who likes pretty things. You are certainly not a bitch, sir, but you are a little bit bougie.
You are on, sir. Virtual handshake.
Virtual handshake, sir.
There it is. There it is.
All right, for the whole live stream. And then I'm going to end up buying drinks anyways for the night. So.
Well, I'm glad that we started off this wager with what was effectively if you went that way, I'm going this way match. So hopefully the rest of them will have a little more thought put into them. And I do have some thoughts on the rest of the card.
Yeah, absolutely. I just see Eva Marie's back for the first time, but Alexa Bliss is hot. They'll give Eva Marie a win, and it's gonna be a smodge of bullshit. It's gonna be a schmoz, but anyways, or schmoz, I should say. All right, your personal favorite match with Veer and Shanky, okay, banned from ringside. Who takes it?
Oh, thank God.
Drew McIntyre or Jinder Mahal?
Well, so I'm going to go with Drew McIntyre, okay? But here's the thing. McIntyre needs to win this. He should win it. But no one is coming out of this looking good. I mean, McIntyre cannot lose to Mahal. And if Mahal loses, then what the fuck was the point of all this stuff with the two of them? So I cannot see McIntyre losing to Mahal. I got to go with McIntyre.
You know what? I also, even though it's a friendly wager, I can't see Jinder beating him, especially both those guys are banned from ringside. Drew is still a massive star, and even they have to know that if he loses to Jinder, he's basically going to be freaking dethroned to being that of a mid-card quality guy. So I would say Drew McIntyre also. And to your point, this just feels like a something to do type of match.
Well, McIntyre has been diminished, but the crowds are still behind him. They're still behind him despite the cartoony dialogue that they give him about his sword and the putting the sword in the stone, and even him swinging the sword at these guys like he's going to cut their heads off on live TV. The other problem with this, though, is that if Mahal wins, then this whatever they're doing continues. This needs to end. They both need to go on to do other things. This 3MB reunion that they're doing with each other just does not work. It needs to be Drew McIntyre for not just for consistency. Well, no, I shouldn't say consistency, but not just because Drew McIntyre is on a different level than Jinder Mahal, but for the sake of our sanity.
For the sake of our sanity. Okay, we are both.
Are you keeping track of these?
Dude, I'm the guy who edits these, bro. This is gonna be a I'm gonna make this a Facebook video that's gonna go down that I'm actually gonna spend $20 to advertise, bro.
Woo!
Okay. Woo! All right.
Woo!
Woo! Okay, next up, let's start talking about some matches that we're gonna enjoy. And for some reason, this is billed the third match of the evening. Edge versus Seth freaking Rollins. Who do you think takes this?
So I am going to go with Edge. So, here's another example, a match that neither guy can really afford to lose. Edge won the Royal Rumble. He didn't get the title win at WrestleMania or at Money in the Bank. And his comeback, after being away for 10-ish years, it's been marred by, the COVID-19 situation and then his tricep injury that occurred that kept him out for a bunch of months. Meanwhile, you have Rollins, on the other hand, who's kind of been stuck in neutral. I mean, the only difference I see with Rollins here is that whatever this Batman villain thing he's doing right now, it feels to me a step below his Architect and even the Monday Night Messiah gimmicks that he had. He feels like he feels like a bad caricature of a 60s Batman villain. That's just me. But Edge still has equity, but they can't keep beating him. So either way, this is not going to be the end of their story.
You could make the argument that the feud can continue if Rollins beats Edge, but I think Edge deserves the moment. I think he deserves it in front of the large crowd. I think Edge for the win here, but I think their story is not ending here.
Yeah, because let's look at what happened. Edge lost at Money in the Bank. They never have a guy. They're not going to have him lose two pay-per-views in a row. Edge would be the safe bet, but to make this exciting for the viewer at home, I'm gonna say, because now we have to look at it like this. Okay, do you invest in Rollins versus Reigns somehow gets to him, or are they gonna go all in, have him lose to Edge and dive deeper into madness? That's really what I can see happening here. So I'm going to say Seth Rollins due to some sort of stupidity. He's not going to beat Edge clean, but he is going to win the match.
Okay, I can respect that. I can see that. I think you're being a little contrarian, but that's okay.
No. Well, I think that to keep it interesting, because no, and in all seriousness, this is one for me that's been hard to figure out. So the fact that you chose Edge actually made it easier for me to just go all in on Rollins, because to just speak my internal dialogue here, I could really see it going either way, because Edge is kind of hitting sort of the end of the road. Does he do the job for Seth Rollins, kind of put a young guy over who still has a little bit of run left in his career, which I can see happening since Edge is a good dude like that. Mr. Adam Copeland is a good guy like that. So yeah, I think if maybe if Rollins wins, we can lose the whole fucking shower curtain suit gimmick, but that may not happen. So you're going Edge, I'm going Seth freaking Rollins.
Understood, sir.
All right. Next on the list, and god damn it, I think this is the match that's going to steal the show. I think this is the match that we're going to be like, damn, this was the best freaking match on the card. Just because you got a guy like, the match is for the WWE United States Championship. Sheamus versus Damian Priest. Damian has been getting a lot of freaking airtime lately. They've been doing a good job trying to get him over. They've been doing a great job at building this match up. Miz and Morrison have been doing their part to try to elevate this match to being something that people will care about. I think it's I am waiting for your prediction on how it will go, but my bold prediction will be that this is going to be the best match of the night, or something that I will consider to be the best match of the night.
I can respect that. The two guys are certainly capable. My prediction here, I believe Damian Priest will become the new United States champion, and the reason for that, we talked about it with Apollo Crews. I think Sheamus is a victim of the secondary champion booking. He hasn't been a bad U.S. champion, but the problem is that, again, it's how all the secondary champions are booked. He hasn't really done much since he won the title. I mean, he did have that bullying thing going on with Humberto Carrillo, and then that stupid S&M mask that he wears. But typical WWE logic here states that Sheamus hasn't really been elevated by the title. Priest is an up-and-coming talent that hasn't done much since his Bad Bunny partnership at WrestleMania, and so putting the U.S. title on him here makes a lot of sense. Whether it elevates Priest or it drags Priest down into the muck where all the secondary champions wind up remains to be seen, but I mean, I think there's every reason to believe that Priest will take the belt here.
You know what? This is one where I think we both agree, just based on how much of a pop that Damian's gotten lately. Like, Sheamus is in no means is he going to be on his way out of the company. I just feel like the belt does way more for Damian than it ever did for Sheamus. Because with Sheamus, it was more like, hey, this belt's kind of a demotion, but you get to hold something for a while. It's security of sorts. So yeah, I gotta agree. I think Sheamus drops the belt. I think it's going to be the best match of the night, but I think ultimately Damian Priest wins the belt and he wins it clean.
Well, don't be so sure that Sheamus isn't on his way out of the company. You never know when you're going to end up on Nick Khan's naughty list.
Ooh, that's true. I mean, I wonder if that's like in the back of these guys' minds, because Because I was always a fear, like the fear before was, okay, if I drop this belt, am I gonna lose my spot? Like, you're still gonna be in the company, but it's like, am I gonna be poorly used from here on out? Now it's got to be like, is my contract just considered to not be profitable? Are they trying to get the belt off me to kick me out of the company now that the old man isn't going to really do much to save me because there's another place we could go down in Florida? That's all I'm going to say there. But
So our first title match prediction so far, and we're both predicting a title change. So that's good.
Yeah, I have to go that route. I mean, you can't, like, you have Miz and John Morrison, two very respected locker room veterans who are putting you over. The crowd likes him. It just feels like it's his time to win the belt. It just feels like it.
And he got the Bad Bunny rub at WrestleMania in the build-up to WrestleMania, and they just haven't really done much with him since. And I understand part of that was there weren't crowds, but it's his time. It's time to do something with Damian Priest. And if you're not going to pull the trigger on him winning the belt here, then I don't know what you're going to do with him.
Okay, our first tag team championship match of the evening. Raw. This is for the Raw Tag Team Championships. AJ Styles and Omos, I should say, my bad, versus RK Bro, which is Riddle and Randy Orton. Who do you think takes it?
I think we're going to see new tag team champions.
You know what? God damn it. I hate to keep agreeing with you because it's part of the bet, but considering the pop that RK Bro keeps getting, it almost feels like it would be the dumbest booking move of all time to not put the tag team championship belts on these guys.
Yeah, I think. Look, I mean, the Styles Omos partnership certainly hasn't run its course yet, but I don't think that they need the tag titles to further the story. Plus, I think with the tag belt on Omos, it kind of forces him to be exposed a little bit. Plus, hey, there's a lot of mileage and fan interest in the RK Bro odd couple pairing, and since they've been playing up the fact that Orton hasn't really been wanting to team with them. What better way to keep them together than actually putting the tag belts on them?
Agreed. So we tie there. I think RK Bro takes it, and you and I will be in the stadium that day and that night. And what I think I think that's going to be the biggest pop of the night is when they win. If they win those belts, that place is going to fucking riot. That place is going to come there. It'll bring down the house. If it's a good finish, it's going to bring down the house. That's going to be the pop of the night. I guarantee it.
Well, let's hope so.
Absolutely. Next on the list, another tag team match. The Smackdown Tag Team Championship belt is on the line. I love both these tag teams. You have the Usos versus the Mysterios. Who do you think takes it?
So this is my lock of the night. The Usos are retaining the titles. It's going to be... See, hang on. So let me explain this real quick.
Go ahead.
They just won the titles.
Yep.
To me, it's counterproductive to pass the titles back to the Mysterios since they just beat them for the titles at Money in the Bank. Plus, on SmackDown, they started sprinkling the seeds of a Dominic being overconfident and possibly a little bit of a possible heel turn. And they went out of their way to talk about how the Street Profits are going to be next in line. Hey, I think it would be a bad idea for them to turn Dominic heel, but certainly I just don't see the logic of passing it back to the Mysterios. However, I know that you are a Dom fan, so I'm interested to hear what you're thinking here.
So there was a certain DUI incident that happened with one of the Uso brothers, and all of us have been of the mindset, we all thought, oh shit, his ass with 4 DUIs is on his way out of the company. It didn't happen immediately. So part of me thinks that, then they won the belts at Money in the Bank after the incident. They put the belts
on him after the DUI.
After the DUI incident. Yeah, here's the thing. I don't want to see Dom turn heel. I don't think he'd be a very good heel. I think he's the perfect babyface just where he's at. If they would have ended the Rollins feud a little bit better, I think he would have been put way over the confines of the tag team championships. Let's put it that way. I think he should be in the lineup for, say, the Intercontinental Championship, or at least in that division. That being said, you're probably right with the Usos. I would think I have to go with patterns here, right? So if Priest is going to lose the title belt and we feel that RK Bro is going to win the next title belt, it kind of feels like what they might do is change belt hands until you get to the main event. That way it adds a little bit more surprise to it. So I'm going to say Mysterios take it, and they're going to milk this pay-per-view. They're going to milk this feud for one more pay-per-view because there's really nothing there.
You are not only going against my prediction, but you are going against my lock of the night.
I'm going against your lock of the night.
Big cojones. I love it. I
gotta go there, and you're probably right. So the thing is, you got bigger cojones than me because you're saying this is 150,000% gonna happen. The match. Me, I'm just saying like, damn, that's gonna be the pop of the night when they win. Damn, that's gonna be the match of the night. But you're 100% the Usos are going to win. That's your lock. Do you want to double? Do you want to add a little extra wager onto that?
Yes.
Okay. If the Usos lose, the other person has to pay for dinner on another night.
Ooh. All right. I'm down.
Okay, cool. So for those of you who missed out the first part, if whoever guesses the most predictions, the loser, so the person who loses the first wager has to buy drinks that night. The person who wins on this match gets free freaking dinner.
Nice.
So, yeah, we have our gentlemen.
If the Mysterios win, you can order anything you want off the dollar menu, bud.
You know what, bro? I am going to say the value menu for you, man. You could pick the combo, and I'll let you supersize if the Usos win.
Ooh. Man, that's not going to be good for my February showcase, but you know.
Hey, bro, we don't start our cut until the day after SummerSlam.
Well, hey, here's the deal, man. With all legitimacy, we will be doing some fine dining aside from we're not eating that garbage.
Yeah, we will be doing some fine dining. All right, so the next match, which I think is going to be a pretty good match, but I kind of know where the hell it's going already, just based off of WWE logic. The Smackdown Women's Championship match between Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks, and I'll give my prediction first.
Go for it.
WWE Booking 101, 50-50 wins. Sasha Banks has destroyed freaking Bianca Belair in the same move, the same trick twice. They're going to let the babyface get her revenge at the pay-per-view. Bianca Belair wins. She wins clean.
Wow. So I am going to disagree.
Oh.
I have Sasha Banks winning the SmackDown Women's Championship. And so, I could see why you would go that way. I think that this is a little bit of a toss-up here. But as far as I'm concerned, I think that there's more mileage in having Belair chase a heel champion in Banks. Otherwise, the SmackDown women's roster is completely barren of potential challengers for Belair if she continues as champion. If Banks wins the title, you can get a couple pay-per-views out of her and Belair, and then there's a babyface side of the roster that Banks can then feud with. And then who knows? Bayley is still a couple months away from coming back, but I just don't know what. I guess my prediction here is just based more on if Belair wins, I don't know what she does next.
Yeah, because it's definitely not like the Universal Championship, I should say, whereas they've done a great job at setting potential challengers all over the place with Reigns. You and I have discussed this. They basically have 2 years worth of feuds ready for Roman Reigns, whereas with Bianca Belair, you're right. She's already beaten everybody who could pose a potential threat to her, so maybe a loss is there. I'm just going with Bianca because she got murdered twice. They're going to let her have her babyface pop, and that's just that.
Yeah, and like I said, it really is a toss up in my mind. But again, when I really sat down and thought about it, I just don't know what happens next with Belair if she retains the title. So that's really the determining factor in me going with Sasha.
Absolutely. All right, next on the list. This is, God damn it, such great athletes on this in this match, just put together the wrong fucking way. So Nikki Ash, or as you refer to her as, Nikki Cross, will defend the Raw Women's Championship versus Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair in a triple threat match. You go first. Who pins Nikki? Charlotte or Rhea?
Well, so hey, look, you can make a case for anyone in this match to win because the booking of the new Raw Women's Champion has been, let's just say, questionable at best. If the intent is just to have Cross drop the title here, then what was the point of having her win it in the first place?
I think it was just to keep. Yeah, I mean the route you could have gone there, and not to interrupt you, I'm sorry, bro. Would be okay. It felt like Rhea and Charlotte were the only two women in that company who were in each other's class, right? Like they're definitely main event superstars. And I feel like they just brought Nikki in because the crowd was loving the whole superhero gimmick, the whole almost a superhero gimmick. You needed something fresh because you can't just have Charlotte and Rhea beat each other up on paid TV every other month. I think she's just the mosquito who you can have get pinned just so you could, keep the Rhea and Charlotte feud going like in a new way, because I really don't see any other challengers other than those two.
Well, so then look at what happened on Raw, right? So what happened on Raw, and we didn't really talk about it, but Rhea Ripley defeats Nikki Cross, right? Because why not? You might as well just keep beating Nikki Cross. And then later you have Charlotte pins Rhea in the tag team match. So by the transference principle, Nikki gets pinned by Rhea gets pinned by Charlotte, therefore Charlotte's better. All of this goes into this soup, and all I keep coming back to is if Cross was just going to drop the title here, why put it on her in the first place? Here's what I think. I think Nikki Cross is going to retain the Raw Women's Championship. It's going to be in some fluky bullshit way. And then in a pay-per-view or two from now, either Rhea Ripley or Charlotte will take the belt from her then.
That's a very logical prediction.
Plus, before you start, real quick, I did also predict Sasha Banks winning the Smackdown title, so that was the other determining factor in me saying, you know what, Cross is gonna find some way. She's gonna channel her inner superhero and retain the Raw Women's Championship. And now I will turn it over to you, sir.
You know what? I could actually see that happening with current booking to keep things fresh. I am actually going to say that Rhea Ripley is going to take out Nikki Cross. And I'm actually going to say that this could be Rhea Ripley's heel turn this match. I think she's going to do some heelish shit, and maybe Charlotte gets out of the match. She finally has a shot at Nikki, and she's going to do some things that are going to make that crowd go awfully freaking quiet. I'm going Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley it is, sir.
Rhea Ripley, you think Nikki Ash retains? I hope that it's a great match and something that we're speaking positively about and not smacking our heads like, what the fuck was that? But we shall see. All right, next on the list, we have 2 matches left. The WWE Universal Championship match. Roman, the head of the table, the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, taking on the former 16-time champion of the world, John Cena. Who do you think takes it?
So, I have to, we talked about this earlier. I have to admit, this seemed like the biggest slam dunk prediction when it was announced. However, the recent release of Ric Flair and then John Cena playing up that this could be his 17th title win, and the fact that the promo was all about I don't have to beat you up, I just have to catch you with the 3 count.
Yep.
Really made this more compelling and more of a choice in my mind than it had any right to be. I mean, the right thing to do here is to have Roman Reigns smash him, like he said, and then retain the title. At this point, pinning Roman actually means something. He hasn't been pinned in over 600 days. He's been the Universal Champion for almost a year. And if you're going to have him get beat, at this point, it shouldn't be to give Cena his record-breaking 17th title win. It should be to make somebody, Finn Balor.
Yeah.
But you can't put it past WWE booking to give Cena the record 17th, because the one thing that they've shown over the years is that when they have somebody who holds a record that is no longer with the company, they usually find a way to find someone else to take over that record immediately. So, could they have Cena win in some fluky way, and because in their minds they think they're protecting Reigns? Sure. Regardless of all this, though, Roman Reigns winning here has to happen. I don't know what Cena's obligations are to the WWE after SummerSlam. I don't know what his Hollywood schedule looks like. But I do give the WWE credit for at least making this a little more compelling than it had any right to be. Roman Reigns retains the Universal Championship, and in my bonus prediction, I believe Finn Balor will somehow get himself involved either during or immediately after the match.
Okay, that is a bold prediction. I think Finn will get involved also, but here's what I think is going to happen. I think he goes after Finn Balor, somehow gets involved. Maybe he goes after John, accidentally takes out Reigns. There's your schmoz win. I actually think that eventually they do need to take the belt off Reigns, especially if he's going to wrestle The Rock. This seems like the best way to do it, because then you already have Finn and Cena with something to do with each other. There you go. Then, you could possibly get the belt on Finn Balor without Roman Reigns having to get pinned by Finn Balor. So there's an angle there. Because Roman Reigns, with Paul Heyman in his corner, is probably the most protected guy in that building. So maybe there's a finish that Paul Heyman has thought of that we're not seeing just yet. But I think Cena is going to win it. I think Roman's going to beat the ever-loving shit out of him. There's going to be some type of schmoz. Cena's going to get the pin. Belts off Roman. We can start the Rock feud if that's what's going to happen. And then you can have the Finn-Cena match go down. And then you could get the belt on Finn Balor without Roman having to be the guy to give him that win. Which I do agree, though. I would love to see Finn Balor be the guy to get the pin, because that would put Finn over, like beyond over. But, my opinion is I got to go with Cena on this one.
Yeah, so let's just talk a minute about that. So I think we can both agree this is going to be the last match.
This will... I don't know, because we got to have the Lashley versus Goldberg match, and when I get to my prediction, there's a reason why I think it'll still be the last match.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, then that's interesting, because I'll predict match order as well. However, if this match goes on last and Cena wins, the crowd goes home happy. The crowd didn't go home happy at WrestleMania because Reigns stacked Bryan and Edge and won. Are they going to give us 2 heel closing major pay-per-views? I find that hard to believe. And here's the last thing about this. Clearly, the coming surprises with AEW are on their mind. I mean, they did bring up Jon Moxley and CM, and they referenced CM Punk on the Smackdown promo with John Cena. Does WWE feel that they need to provide a surprise at the pay-per-view, at SummerSlam?
I don't.
Who would that surprise be?
Exactly.
And at this point, to counter what they're doing, I think there's only two people. It's either going to be Brock Lesnar or The Rock. And it's too early to begin the thing with The Rock. Does Brock Lesnar show up? I don't know. And if he does, is there a natural storyline with him challenging Reigns, or is there a natural storyline with him showing up to challenge Lashley and have Paul Heyman play up the fact that he's going to manage the champion on both brands? I don't know. I'm getting into kind of fantasy booking level now, but I can certainly see why you would think Cena might win, and I'm interested to hear why you think Lashley Goldberg will go last. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the main event plays out. I think either way, we can both agree Roman Reigns and John Cena is going to be a hell of a match.
Oh, I think it's going to be the second best match of the night. I think Sheamus and Damian Priest is going to be the best match, but I definitely
that's gonna be a hoss fight, man. I'm telling you, those two big dudes. Oh,
and Sheamus loves to be physical, you know.
Dude, Sheamus has a hard style. He loves working stiff. Damian is not afraid to get hit a little bit. So I think it's gonna be a sensational match. Cena Reigns gonna be a great match. Also, I just don't know at this stage of Cena's life and career how bad he wants to keep taking like serious bumps. So I think it'll be a standard, really good main event heavyweight match with the proper move set in that regard, but don't expect any like top rope shenanigans or tables or any shit like that. That's all I'm saying there.
Yep.
Finally, the WWE Championship match between Bobby Lashley versus Bill Goldberg. Who do you think takes this?
Lashley's retaining here. Based on the way that they booked Lashley, and especially coming off the way that he destroyed Kofi Kingston at Money in the Bank, it would be absolutely unconscionable if they had Lashley drop the title to Goldberg. Goldberg got his ass kicked by Drew McIntyre at the Royal Rumble. There's simply no story with Goldberg winning. I can't put it past booking, though, to think that Lashley might gain something from a Goldberg title win and then him regaining the title back from Goldberg, but that's simply not the case. It would be irresponsible booking, and Lashley is closely approaching that Roman Reigns territory now, where they went with him at WrestleMania when it looked like he was just going to be a transition to get the title back to Drew. He was booked to just absolutely smoke Kofi Kingston. It would be irresponsible to have him drop the title here to Goldberg. But again, this is the same booking crew that had Goldberg pin The Fiend when he was the Universal Champion in 2 minutes. So, you know, what do I know? But I think there's every reason in the world to think that Lashley retains, and I'm curious to hear why you think it's going to go last. I think I might know, but I'm very interested to hear your logic and your prediction.
Yeah, so I'm going to agree with you on the outcome. Lashley, I think, is just going to smoke Goldberg. I think Goldberg gets some decent offense the first 3 minutes, and then after that, it's going to be the fucking Bobby Lashley clinic. Just he's gonna retire Bill Goldberg. Like, I think Goldberg probably got a big payday. It's like, hey, you're just going to come out and you're going to get shit stomped. Because I can't foresee a 53-year-old Bill Goldberg wanting to do the road life again, or even wanting to do more than one pay-per-view a year even. It's a very active title. He's not going to win. Lashley is just super hot right now. You're right. I think he is the Roman Reigns of Raw right now. He's the Roman Reigns of Raw. MVP is the Paul Heyman of Raw, which is why SmackDown is the superior product. But fuck it, we got two great champions right now. I don't think they're going to ruin that, or at least not to a 53-year-old Goldberg. They're going to give that win to somebody they're trying to elevate.
Well, and they've done this twice with Goldberg already. I mean, he ended Kevin Owens' Universal title reign, and then he ended The Fiend's Universal title reign. So I don't understand why they keep going back to Goldberg. Don't get me wrong; it'll be cool to be in the stadium and hear the the music, and it'll bring me back to the 90s.
Goldberg,
yeah, exactly. But so Lashley retains. We're in agreement now. Now, please continue, because I know you've got more.
We have not seen a lot from Big E, as we had mentioned earlier. I think this is when Big E gets his revenge on Lashley, gets the 1, 2, 3, gets the belt, and then gets the absolute shit kicked out of him the next pay-per-view.
How much is he going to have to pay Baron Corbin in order to obtain the services of the Money in the Bank contract again?
The price of one ass whooping.
Ooh, okay. Fair enough. So you think that there's going to be some kind of skit or some kind of maybe match on the pre-show or something where E gets his briefcase back?
I do think so. I think it's going to be done ultra cartoony in such a way that where you're like, okay, like you're not even going to thank this guy in the title picture, right? So, and if you've been following along, they have experimented with Big E interfering with some house show matches that involved Xavier Woods and Kofi versus Bobby Lashley in a handicap match. Recently, they had him walk out in a towel to distract Bobby Lashley. So what they're doing now, which is smart, with these dark room matches, they're actually using it more or less to actually experiment what's gonna work with a full audience, and they're not doing it before the show; they're doing it after the show. Because they're going to be like, because, you know, a lot of people are going to want a little bit more. So, yeah, that's what leads me to believe Big E's going to come back because they haven't done much with him on Smackdown. He's going to win. He's going to win the belt. Of course, it's going to be a freaking schmoz after freaking Lashley was was tired from beating the crap out of Goldberg. The final man to walk out with the WWE Championship is going to be Big E. And then he's going to lose it immediately the next pay-per-view. But because he's the Raw champion, the New Day will be back together. That's what I think happens.
So there you heard it first live here on the Slammer Brothers podcast. Not only is Jack predicting that there will be 12 matches on this show, and the first one being Big E getting his contract back from old Baron Corbin there, but then also an impromptu third world title match with Big E taking down Mr. Bobby Lashley. That rhymes.
Yes, it does.
It does.
Yes,
right?
It does. That's very impressive.
Yeah. So there it is. 12. So you're predicting a 12-match card, and Big E will be the big winner at the end of the night. I will not go that far. I'm going to stick with Bobby Lashley, and I'm going to stick with Roman and Cena closing the show, and either Finn Balor or perhaps a bigger surprise, sending the crowd home at least somewhat happier than they would be with just seeing Roman holding the title up. Hey, how about this, though? If Big E does indeed have a match with Baron Corbin to get his Money in the Bank contract back, and then cashes in later on in the night, and beats Bobby Lashley for the title, what will be longer, the combined length of those two matches or the amount of time it takes Roman Reigns to get to the ring?
Ooh, that's a tough one because Roman takes his time. The head of the table, the tribal chief, he takes his time.
That's a good over-under Vegas bet right there.
Fuck, that is a good bet.